Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Today is May 27th, 2021. Welcome to my show, My Turn to Talk. I am Solid Blue Sister. And today's show was actually supposed to be yesterday's show, so I'm getting back on track here. Today, I want to talk about Karens and how they have affected this country, and how they have affected citizens of this country, and also the mindset of this country. Now, a lot of people know, about Central Park Karen and, barbecue Becky and, what have you. But Karen actually, or Karens, I should say, actually go back to the antebellum time during slavery. And Karens weren't called Karens then, they were called Miss Anns. And growing up, in Black culture, in some families, your mom or your grandmother may say, don't act like a Miss Ann, and that was the term that was given, during the antebellum period. So Karens have been around for a long time, and they have affected the way people react, how people are seen because of what they do and what they say, which is usually an untruth. So I am going to share with you. Let me get started here. Okay, and I am going to share, let me get rid of this. All right, so we have Miss Ann. All right, so it says originated in antebellum era, 1815 to 1861. I think Miss Ann goes into the 20th century, probably through to civil rights. But basically, what this is saying is Miss Ann is slang for a white woman who is aware of her whiteness and the status it conveys, and is complicit with the system that preserves that status. She may or may not own enslaved people, but she definitely knows what the hierarchy is and usually does not challenge it. And they refer to Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind. Then we have Becky. Becky is slang for a white woman who is happily ignorant and unaware of her whiteness, but is complicit with the system that upholds her status. So we have one that preserves the status and another one that upholds the status. Becky is often overly dramatic when confronted about her whiteness. She may or may not be a valley girl. Now, when we talk about Karens, I'm sorry, when we talk about Becky's, Becky could be that person, who is in your sorority, who really wants to hang out, with Black people. But more than likely, she's not going to invite you into her sorority. Okay. On the other hand, to be fair, we do have Black Karens. we do have Black Karens. We have Karens who may hang out with, you know, white girls, Caucasian girls, but they're not going to invite them into their sorority, or, you know, I'll hang out with you, but you can't come over here. You know, yes, we definitely have Black Karens. So to be fair. So then we just have Karen. Okay. Karen is shorthand again for a woman who is usually white. She's convinced her way is the right way, whether it's about charcoal grilling in the park, policing non-white people's behavior, or demanding to speak to a manager or higher authority who can get her what she wants. She's the kind of person who posts on Nextdoor about a suspicious looking person walking around her neighborhood, or demands to be let into a grocery store without wearing a mask. So these are the type of Karens that are out there. So we have Miss Ann, we have Becky, and we have Karen. And once again, I want to say that there are Asian Karens. There was an incident, I do believe last week, where an Asian woman was trolling a white man who was walking his dog, and she kicked his dog and, you know, tried to take his dog and demanded where he was going and what he was doing. You know, we have Asian Karens. You know, we have Asian Karens when African Americans, you know, go into their stores, you know, they're ready to call the police that, you know, this Black person's about to, you know, steal from me, you know, whatever. And again, we have Hispanic Karens, you know, who demand, you know, who bang on doors and demand Wi-Fi, you know, passwords, you know, and we have Black Karens who go into stores and, you know, they, you know, demand to get, you know, particular items, you know, in the store, this isn't good enough, or, you know, who do you think you're talking to, whatever. Karens come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. But the Karens who have made an impact on history and who have caused harm are usually white Karens. So I'm going to take this down, and I am going to put up one of the most famous Karens. Let me get this. And this Karen is, excuse me, here we go. Let me bring this down. Carolyn and Roy Bryant. Okay. Carolyn Bryant is the woman who accused Emmett Till of whistling at her, touching her, you know, making lewd comments to her. And what she testified in court was, you know, I can't repeat the name that he called me because it's, you know, too nasty to say. She couldn't repeat it because Emmett Till never said it. Because Emmett Till never did what she said that he did. But this is Carolyn Bryant, and she was responsible for this. Carolyn Bryant was responsible for the beating, torture, and lynching of Emmett Till. So she's probably the most famous Karen out there, or she's one of the most famous, you know, out there. And as everyone knows, who knows the story, Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till, insisted on an open casket funeral for Emmett to show the world what racism did to her young son. She wanted the world to see, and I applaud her for this. I applaud her that this young man, 14 years old, was cut down and brutally murdered because of a lie. And, is absolutely heartbreaking. So here we have his mother, Mamie Till, at his funeral. She's heartbroken. So 14-year-old who allegedly winked at a white woman at a local store and was dragged out of his great uncle's home in the middle of the night, beaten, shot, and waded to the bottom of the Tallahatchie River. Till's mother insisted on an open casket to show the injustice to all the world. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if your child, you send your child to a relative's house for the summer? Emmett was from Chicago. He was from the North. And his mother gave him the talk about what not to do. What not to do when you're around white people, especially white people in the South. And again, he allegedly, but we know that's not true. We know that's not true. But can you imagine that you send your child, to summer camp or, wherever, and you're expecting, to meet them at the bus stop or the airport, whatever, to greet them when they come home, and they come home in a box. They come home looking like this because of this woman, Carolyn Bryant. Her lie, and this man, who was one of three who killed Emmett Till. Okay, so then we have the viewing of Emmett Till's body. Thousands of people showed up at that Chicago church on the South Side to see what racism did to Mamie Till's son. Now, this was Carolyn Bryant about 40 years later. And she admitted to lying about Emmett Till. She admitted that she lied because she wanted her husband, Roy, to be acquitted of his murder. Now, I don't know if Roy and the other two, threatened her, you better do this, or else, or if she just did it on her own. But the fact that, she lied to keep her husband from going to prison for, heinous, murder. I mean, this is how Black people were usually found in the South, back in the 50s, 40s, 30s, even now, and there are stories of lynchings now. But this woman was able to live out her life. I do believe she was around 83 years old when 60 Minutes did this story on her. She was 83. Emmett Till was 14. Who had the better life? Who was able to live out their lives? So to me, this is a Miss Ann. This is a Miss Ann. Okay, so take these down and let's talk about Claude Neil. Claude Neil was 23 years old, and he was killed, murdered on October 26, 1934. And as you can see, well, I'll read this. Claude Neil's lynching death placed a national spotlight on Marianna, Florida. He was grabbed from a jail cell in Brewton, Alabama, where 6 men had created a diversion to distract the sheriff in charge of his custody. The 6 men tortured and killed him in a wooded area in Greenwood, Florida, near the home of the girl he was accused of raping and killing. Claude's dead body was then brought to the home where reportedly the father of Lola Kennedy, that was the girl that was found dead, shot Claude's body. After the torture and shooting, his body was taken to the town square in Marianna, Florida, and hung from a tree to deliver a message. The message was, "Don't cross the line." He was 23 years old. Claude Neil was 23 years old, married and the father of a 3-year-old daughter, Allie Mae. His wife was expecting another baby, but that pregnancy did not survive the attempt to escape with Allie Mae. Little information as to what event occurred ultimately caused the harm. Mrs. Neil's pregnancy is known. So Claude Neil wasn't lynched in terms of he was alive, they put a rope around his neck and he lynched him, and they lynched him. They tortured and killed him, then took him to the father of this white woman who was killed, where he proceeds to mutilate the body, and then they're going to hang his body. Okay, and I am showing these pictures. I mean, anyone can see these pictures, but this was Claude Neil. So after you do all this, you still, lynch him and put him on display so onlookers can see. Now, there were 2 things that they did to Claude Neil. They lynched him from a tree. But the first time, they took him to the courthouse. And they hung him nearby at the courthouse so people could see. And then they took him, stripped him of his clothes, and they put him here. All because he was accused of killing and raping a white woman whose death was never proven, and the sheriff thought that it was possible a white man was the one who bludgeoned Lola Canaday and left her body in a field. And the field just happened to be close to where Claude Neil lived and also worked. Now, there's something that's interesting about Claude Neil and everything that everything that happened with him. Claude Neil, he was seized by this Florida mob. Here's the headline. But it was never proven that he did anything. And when they took Claude Neil's body and hung him near the courthouse, hundreds of white people came to see this. They came to look at this. They came to see this spectacle. When the sheriff finally got around to, trying to get things under control, he took Claude's body down, the sheriff did, and buried him. Other white people in the town of Marianna, Florida, wanted to see Claude Neil hanging in this place close to the courthouse. And when they saw that Claude Neil's body was gone, people had already taken pictures and what have you, and they were going to make them into postcards, because back then, that's what mobs like this did. They lynched someone, killed a Black person, whatever, burned them, whatever, they would make postcards. And the mob demanded the sheriff dig Claude Neil's body up and hang him again so people could see this man hanging from this tree. The sheriff refused, and this chain of events started the Marianna race riots. And so since Claude Neil wasn't available, his body wasn't available for them to look at and torture and beat some more and mutilate some more, they decided, let's go get some live Black people. And they started to go into the Black areas of Marianna, and they started to beat and torture Black people. And about 200 Black citizens of Florida were attacked that day. So this is what mob mentality does. You get one or two people to get something going, and everybody else just follows along. All right. Let's talk about Tulsa for a moment. And the 100th anniversary of Tulsa is coming up next month. Okay, so here you have the article where a Black man by the name of Dick Rowland, you see, hopped on an elevator that was occupied by a white woman, Sarah Page. Page screamed, Roland, being Black in a time of heated race contention, ran away. He was later arrested that night for sexual assault. When Dick Rowland was getting on this elevator with this white woman, what he did was trip over her foot. He tripped over her foot. She screams. She then goes back and says, this Black man tried to attack me, which then turns into sexual assault. And Dick Rowland is arrested. So after that, things get a little foggy in terms of what went on in Tulsa and exactly, what went from Dick Rowland to burning down an entire neighborhood of Black people in about 16 hours. Everything's gone. Sarah Page later, we find out, dropped her charges. I made a mistake. That didn't happen. Dick Rowland was released and he left town. That same day, he left town. And some people think he left town before all the murders began. But once again, this Karen, this Miss Ann, caused not just the death of one Black person, but of hundreds, and the destruction of an entire neighborhood where Black people worked hard to build up something that was good. All right. Let's talk about Rosewood. Rosewood is another massacre that happened in less than hours, over a 12-hour period. You have a community of Black people that was just utterly destroyed over the lie of another Miss Ann. You have a white woman who was cheating on her husband with another white man, having an affair. Her husband was about to catch them. The white man she's fooling around with jumps up, runs out the house. Husband comes in, sees something's going on. Somebody was in this bed and it wasn't me. So she blames a Black man. What did this Black man look like? Oh, I don't know. He was Black. Okay, let's go get all the Black men. Let's start rounding them all up. But it didn't stop there. Again, we have this mob mentality where you have Miss Ann who gets offended and she causes this chain reaction where an entire town is gone, destroyed, because Miss Ann, she didn't want to get caught fooling around. So an entire town of Rosewood is destroyed. But what's interesting about Rosewood that I recently found out is, remember, these homes were owned by Black people, or as we were called back then, colored. And what the good people of Rosewood, the good white people of Rosewood, what they did was, after this town was, everybody, all the Black people in Rosewood, if they weren't killed, then they fled, they ran. They had to, they're out, they're hiding, they can't go back to their homes. So what the good people of Rosewood did, they went in, and any homes that were left, they looted, they stole, and they declared that no Black person will ever own land in Rosewood. They took that land, they confiscated that land, and they said no other, no Black person will ever own land in Rosewood. And for a while, that was the way it was, until Black people who were the descendants of these people in Rosewood went back and said, no, this is our land. This was my grandmother's house. This was my great aunt's house. This is our land, and we want it back. But it was destroyed because of a lie from a Miss Ann. So you look at these Beckys and these Karens and these Miss Anns, and that's when I go, why? Why would you purposely lie about something that could not only cause someone harm physically, but it could also kill them? And I don't understand that. To purposely lie knowing that you're going to more than likely cause someone to be harmed, if at the least go to jail, be arrested. Now, the Central Park Karen, who purposely called on Christopher Cooper, to pick up your phone and look this man in his eye and say, I'm going to call and say I'm being attacked by an African-American man, Black man, to purposely look at him and say, I'm going to say this. As she's walking towards him, or you have the Karen, who doesn't want to let I think she's key fob Karen, whatever, doesn't want to let him, in his own building. How do I know you live here? What apartment do you live in? Prove it. And he's like, I don't have to prove anything to you. No, he doesn't. I don't feel safe. So when she finally gets in, he doesn't feel safe, but she gets on the elevator with him. She follows him to his floor. She follows him to his apartment. And she still wants to call the police on someone who she doesn't think belongs in her building. I mean, it's just crazy, and to me, Karens are evolving, into mob mentality, and it just, you know, the things that they complain about shows how much they truly believe they're entitled. Entitled to what? You know, you have barbecue Becky. I'm minding my own business, trying to have a nice outing with my family and my friends, not paying you or anyone else attention. And you have to ruin that. If I'm breaking the law, a police officer would come by and they would say something. I don't need you to police me and tell me what I should or should not do. I don't need you to tell me that I should not, who am I to write or stencil in front of my own apartment building? And then you lie and say, well, I know the people who live here. No, you don't, because I live here. You don't know me. I don't know you. I mean, who are you? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Who are you to tell me that I can't take pictures in a park with my, husband and my child? I'm trying to take 1-year-old birthday pictures. And you're, telling me to get out. You don't belong here. It's a public park. You just don't want me in this particular park. It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And all Karens do, or Miss Ann's and Becky's do, is they perpetuate stereotypes, and they make the divisiveness in this country grow larger and larger and larger. I mean, it's like the chasm will never close because somebody like a Karen or a Becky or Miss Ann is constantly saying or doing things that won't allow healing to happen. What do? I mean, I'm pretty sure we all know some Karens. I know some Black Karens, and I also know white Karens, But if you look back in history, usually when a Karen did something, it was usually to save themselves. When you have a Carolyn Bryant, that was to save herself. That was to save her family, to save her husband. But what did it do to Mamie Till? I mean, that was her only child. What did it do to Mamie Till? I mean, you have this woman who, is just grieving. Let me do this again. Okay, there we go. You have this woman who is just grieving. And heartbroken over the murder of her son, yet she's strong enough to allow an open casket so the world can see. all because somebody lied. And this woman kept this lie. I mean, people knew then that Carolyn Bryant was lying. The white folks at the trial knew that Carolyn Bryant was lying, but to stay silent, for almost 40 or 50 years, she should have been arrested because she lied on the stand. She should have been arrested. She should have been put in jail. Again, Carolyn Bryant, she lived her life. But Emmett Till's life was cut short because she lied. Why did you lie in the first place? Why would you even say that this boy did this to you when he never did? He never said anything to you. And she admits that, except for, yes, ma'am. But this boy was supposed to spend the summer with his uncle and the rest of his family and have a fun-filled summer in the South in 1955, being Black, and then go home to Chicago with his mother, back to his mother. I mean, again, I say, can you imagine the heartbreak of this woman? There are many, many more Claude Neils out there. There are many more, Dick Rowlands, Emmett Tills. And a lot of them are not because of Karens. It breaks my heart when I, see things like this, and you read about them, and then, you read sometime later that these people, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. I am so sorry. But what that family went through, what you put that family through. When I did the show on the Central Park Five, I'm sorry, the Little Rock Nine, Central Park Five, that's another show. On the Little Rock Nine, you have people who years later came and apologized and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I treated you like that. I'm sorry that I said that. Yeah, you can appreciate the apology, but a lot of people who went through civil rights had PTSD. I mean, John Lewis talked about the psychological effects that those marches and, just living in a state or town that was just so racist and oppressive. So imagine being in a situation where at the drop of a hat, someone can say, this Black person is doing this, not, oh, you're in the park, I'm being assaulted by a man. I'm being, or this family is barbecuing. It's this Black family, this Black man, this Black woman. I don't know. But at the same time, again, to be fair, we have, you have they say the Kens and Karens, we have Black Kens. We have, Black men who have been violent towards Asians, who, decide that, an Asian person is walking down the street, that they want to beat them up, that they, want to push them down or shove them down, where, these elderly Asian people, are seriously hurt. And to them, I say, why? So when your actions cause bodily harm to someone, it's a problem. When you intentionally do something where your actions are physically hurting someone, there's a problem. And I don't know. This summer is going to be very interesting to me. And I don't know if we'll have more protests. If we do, I hope that they are peaceful. But for me, when 2021 started, for me, it was like I was holding my breath for 4.5 years. You finally release it, and okay, we're starting off new. Everything's going to be better, whatever, which I think it is. But then January 6th happened. And January 6th kind of set the stage, at least to me. January 6th kind of set the stage for how 2021 was going to turn out. Now we have all kinds of crazy laws and, people saying and doing things that they know is wrong, with these voter laws and what have you. But this is also a year that, we're coming out of a pandemic. More and more people are being vaccinated, where masks, are starting to come off. And we are trying to get back to some type of normal, living. For me, I'm still wearing a mask. I'm still wearing my gloves. I will be doing that for a while, but the Karens and the Miss Anns and the Beckys, you have to stop. And I say that on both sides. You have, like I said, your Black Karens, your Asian Karens, it has to stop. Christopher Cooper in Central Park was extremely lucky. God shielded him that day. God was like, he's not going to be harmed. I got you. But then again, I believe God had George Floyd. I believe God was with George Floyd as his, life was ebbing out of his body. And I do believe that, God said, whispered in George Floyd's ear, I have plans for you. You're going to do great things. And he has. You're going to force change. You know, I believe that we're all put here for a reason. I believe that people cross paths for a reason. Darnella Frazier was going to cup foods with her little cousin on that particular day at that particular time because God had a plan for her. And she fulfilled that plan. So every time, you know, you have a Karen out there who wants to purposely pick up the phone and make a phone call, you know, think twice. Because you are harming someone. You know, but the person you're causing harm to, they are affecting change. They are. I mean, with what Emmett Till went through, for him to die the way that he did alone. But once again, you know, as odd or as crazy as it may sound, you know, if you ever looked at, you know, Touched by an Angel, the show Touched by an Angel, and you had Andrew, who was the angel of death, and whenever someone died, Andrew was there with them. You know, I do believe that the angel of death, that there was an Andrew who was with Emmett Till, who was also telling him, you are going to make a change. God has a plan for you. This is why you're here. And his mother, you know, went on to affect change. She became an activist, and she did that until the day she died. You know, same thing with Martin Luther King. You know, people are here for a reason. People cross your paths in life for a reason. So, you know, you Karens and Miss Anns and Becky's out there, when you do things, you know, and you're doing them with an evil heart that's going to cause harm to someone, not only are you causing harm to them, but you are, you know, again, this may sound crazy, you are allowing them to affect change. I know when I look back at my own history, my father's family comes from Alabama, and going back and tracing his family, there were lynchings. People in my family were lynched. You know, I'm pretty sure many of us have stories like this to tell. But when you have someone who purposely, you know, again, I go back to Carolyn Bryant and, you know, this secret she held for over 40 years. So your husband wouldn't go to jail because he was supposedly protecting you because you said that not only did this Black boy whistle at you, he also said a word that you just can't repeat because he never said it. So that's all I have. But again, I just, want to say that people know Karens. Karens are the ones that, whisper stuff to other people. And they cause harm to other people. And they get their little mob together. And it grows, the mob grows. Sometimes that mob turns into a Claude Neil mob where people are murdered and beaten and the homes are burned down. Or sometimes that mob is just a display of words. But there are Karens out there. There's Miss Anns, there are Beckys, and there are Karens. And unfortunately, this is the world and time that we continue to live in. But what are you going to do? So that's all I have today. Thank you for joining me. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about Native Americans because some very interesting things that have gone on with Native Americans. And if anyone should have reparations in this country before anyone, and it may cost billions, but the Native Americans, yeah. But that's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm a little ahead of my hour, but that's okay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Great show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will see you later. Bye.